There are a lot of DJ brands out there and brands making DJ equipment these days. In fact, there are more than there have ever been before. So I want to go over the top 5 and what's good about them and why they have ascended to the level they have. And it's only right to start with the actual industry standard, and that would be Pioneer. That's what these are. They've been the industry leaders for a long time now, and they produce both decks and mixers, as well as controllers and all sorts of other items as well. The main reason that they've become an industry standard is because of these. What were CDJs, they're now DDJs, as in a lot of them don't take CDs anymore, but they are really what took over from vinyl. So for a long time, vinyl decks were king, and Technics in particular, which we'll come on to in a minute. But then Pioneer came out with the CDJ 2000, and that just changed everything. It gave you a platter that you could actually manipulate and allowed DJs to have music on CDs. So it meant instead of carrying record crates with them, they suddenly could just take a CD wallet and have hundreds more tunes than they ever could have done if they were using vinyl. And that was it. It was a game changer, really. Just overnight, virtually, we went from using vinyl decks and then being in every club to CD decks being in every club, and the vinyl decks started to fall away. And you will actually find a lot of smaller clubs now either don't have vinyl decks or they've let them fall into disrepair and they can actually be unreliable to use. So Pioneer really just blew the market wide open when they released CD decks, and then they also started leading with mixers as well. So they started iterating on these, and these are the Nexus CDJ 2000 Nexus 2s, and they are a direct descendant of the CDJ 2000s, and they just have all sorts of features now. They have these built-in screens that show you the waveform, and they're just still a market leader. They are a staple now in every single club. So if you're going to start with a DJ setup or get your first DJ setup and you're aiming to play in clubs, then you can't go wrong by getting a setup similar to this, because this is going to be the same setup you will have or you will see when you go and play in a club. So it was only right to start with Pioneer because they are just fully dominant in the DJ industry. Now, Newmark. You may be slightly less familiar with Newmark, but they are actually one of the biggest DJ brands out there, mostly because them and their parent company includes a load of sub-brands underneath them. Now, they really changed things or stepped up a level in the vinyl world when they released the TTX ones, and they were the first kind of transition really from analog turntables into a more sort of digital focused era, and it came with the screen, and I personally used them and still have them to this day. They're still going strong. But now these days they've evolved more and they focus more on DJ controllers and all-in-one units, and they're just still one of the big players in that respect. You might not see them as much in clubs and things like that, but you will definitely come across them. People tend to have them at home as they are just super robust, really like feature-packed DJ controllers. What's interesting about Newmark, you may be familiar with the company Stanton. Now, the founder of Newmark actually used to work for Stanton, and when Newmark was a struggling company and was going up for sale, Jack O'Donnell suggested to Stanton that they buy Newmark and revive it, basically. But they chose not to. So in the end, he left Stanton, bought Newmark himself, and has just revived it to the point where it is now. So unfortunately, Stanton lost out a little bit there. and they have also slipped away from being one of the forerunners. They used to make great DJ mixers, which I myself used. They used to make great scratch mixers that had a lifetime guarantee on their crossfader, which when you're scratching a lot, the crossfader takes a lot of abuse. So Newmark, you will see them around. One of the biggest, one of the best. Another brand that's owned by the Newmark parent company, which is in music, is Denon DJ. Now they have really been pushing themselves leaps and bounds to make themselves a main contender for one of the top DJ brands out there, and they aim to really take on Pioneer and the CDJs. And what they've done by doing that is they've taken the standard that Pioneer have created and they've just iterated and they've packed in features and they've innovated to just really create equipment that is just so full of features and options, really. So they now create decks, mixers, as well as controllers. So they really do the whole spectrum of things. And they are starting to take over in some places. Now they're aware, obviously, that Pioneer are the industry standard. So they have made their music library or media library format compatible with the Pioneer record box. So you can take a USB that was created in Pioneer's record box and you can plug it into a Denon deck and it will work exactly as you expect it to. So I know personally that some big radio stations, dance stations, specifically Kiss FM in Australia, have actually kitted out their studio now with Denon decks and a Denon mixer because they really are just pushing things forward and it just gives the DJ loads more options. So you can expect to be seeing more and more of Denon in the future. Now, Technics. I said I was going to mention them, and that's because they deserve a place on this list. They created what became the absolute staple for vinyl DJs due to how sturdy they were and just how accurate and how reliable they were. So that's why they also became very popular, or the only deck really, to be used by turntablists who are scratching and mixing because of the torque and the pickup that was in them. They were just the best option really, and they could put up with the abuse that comes with turntablism and the amount of scratching and manipulation that goes on during turntablism. You need a strong deck that's going to be able to take that for years and still be reliable. Now, this was also what clubs would have. They would all have Technics decks. But like I say, unfortunately, in recent times, with the decrease in vinyl sales and the switch to CDJs, then a lot of clubs have stopped servicing their decks. So they're just not as reliable. When they're used by many different DJs, then of course they need servicing every now and again. But unfortunately, they're just not as well looked after in many clubs as they used to be. You will still see big DJs use them, and anytime you see a big name DJ mixing on vinyl, it will be Technics that they are using, but they will have said ahead of time that that's what they're going to be using, and the club will have set them up specifically for that DJ. Now, what's interesting about Technics is they actually stopped producing them. They stopped producing their SL range due to declining sales. They did this back in 2010, and there was an uproar in the DJ world. A lot of people were disappointed that you couldn't get new Technics decks. They were still available secondhand, of course. There was still plenty in circulation. But because they weren't available new, then there was actually multiple online petitions, and there was a movement to get them back into production, which finally, thankfully, they did in 2016, and they still are being produced to this day. The most recent version, the Mach 7s, was created and released in 2019 and has really updated the Technics 1200s up to modern standards. So it has an increased torque in the motor, and a few other features that just set it apart from all other turntables that are out there on the market. And just the name alone, Technics, just really helps their brand and their sales, because if you're going to get into vinyl DJing, there's kind of no other decks that you want to get, really. The last brand on this list is Akai. Now, I say brand, these are again another of the in music brands. So of the 5 on the list, 3 of them are owned by the same company. Now, the reason Akai are so well thought of and so well established is because they are professionals at what they do. They've been doing it a long time, and they make a huge range of equipment. And they have made a huge range of equipment over the years, which means they can plough all of that knowledge into making the best products possible. And they create everything from studio gear through to DJ equipment. Now, where they really became known in DJing, specifically hip-hop circles, was with the MPD. This was a sampler with pads that allowed hip-hop producers to take samples and then drum out and record patterns and build their tracks. So it was one of the first big bits of equipment to really explode and become a staple in the production world. And they've iterated from there. You can still get modern versions of the MPD, as well as covering all sorts of other DJ equipment and controllers and things like that. So they were just a quick insight into the 5 biggest and best brands in the DJ world. If you wanted to read more about them, including the histories and the flagship models that they have, go to the website bestdjsetup.com/brands, and you'll be able to read all sorts. And if you're looking to buy, then you can make an informed decision knowing all the facts.